Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This is Holy Toledo. Holy Toledo, the podcast with Brady.
And Tom.
And Tom. That's right. And today, just let's get this out of the way. We're drinking Cafe Blanco white coffee. Did you know that existed until today, Tom?
No, not before.
No, my wife picked this up. This is local. Coffee Populous, 643 West Sylvania in Toledo. It's the White Project. And what white coffee is apparently is it's like half roasted or less roasted beans that give it has even more caffeine and everything than ever. Which is weird because I always think in my head that dark roast has more.
You would think.
My wife says it's not that way, that it's the light roast that has more caffeine in it.
Interesting.
This stuff is really good. It has an interesting flavor, right? It's
does,
different.
yeah,
It has like
nice
a kind of
mellow.
a cool, mellow, nutty kind of a flavor to it.
Yeah.
Cafe Blanco, the White Project from the Whole Bean Coffee Company, Coffee Populous on Sylvania. One of our friends, Troy, is part of that business, and he hooked us up. I mean, we paid for the coffee, but I mean, he got it for us, brought it to us, and all that stuff.
And that's what we're having right now.
And that is what we're drinking. Yeah. And my emergency room mug here. It looks it's actually a Halloween mug, but you know, I have a weird sense of humor, so it is what it is. I use it all year round. So we are back with this podcast again, episode 3. That was the extent of my Spanish right there. Tres episodes. I don't even know if that's correct. I apologize.
It's probably awfully close.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're Latin based, right? It's Latin based, so it's got to sound a little bit like it does in English. But we've got all these words. We've got 8 million words for everything because we got the Latin ones and we got the other roots, and it's kind of weird. Right. But okay, today the subject though is we're going to talk a little spirituality. So this is not a local topic really at all. We're just kind of talking back during the period that we outlined in in episode 1 when I was staying with Kim. I wrote a book. It's not published. I've just wrote a manuscript. So not a book, I guess you would say. I wrote a manuscript. I feel like I channeled a manuscript. Now, do you know anything about channeling, Tom? Do you know what that means?
I know what it is. I don't know exactly what qualifies as channeling or not.
Yeah, I think to some extent, all writing is channeling to an extent. I mean, you're basically trying to get out of your own way, right? Like get the creative part of yourself and just let it go, and then you're kind of trying to step back and not be critical of it and criticize everything as it comes out, right? Some people believe that there are non-physical entities, that are like, our spirit guides or I don't know, different things like that. Spirit guides, helpers, angels, different ideas on what they could be that pass information to us and through us. A lot of big inventors, Edison, a lot of those guys, they would do things where they would hold something in a hand and kind of meditate on or fall asleep. Basically, they would fall asleep, get to the very edge of sleep, trying to think of a solution to a problem, and then whatever was in their hand, when they would actually fall asleep, it would drop and wake them up. And a lot of times they would wake up with like the answer, like it was that was the idea.
Yeah.
So basically trying to get in touch, whether you believe it's from the spirit world or, some other thing, or whether you just believe it's getting in touch with your own unconscious mind or subconscious mind, the stuff you can't consciously access. I believe in that kind of stuff. I've read some really cool books that people channeled back in like the 80s, 90s, all the way up till now. Jane Roberts wrote the Seth material. Well, she channeled the Seth material, and her husband, wrote it all down. Seth was a non-physical entity, according to him, that she channeled, and then her husband would write it all up, what he said, take notes and write it all down. Wrote a lot of books. And the thing is, when I read those books when I was younger, they just feel true. I don't know if you've ever had that experience.
Very rarely, but I know what you're talking about. It just
feels like you read it and you're like, oh, this feels right. Like, this makes sense to me. Like, whatever that is, it just kind of clicks, and you're like, I think this is true. And I had that experience quite a few times with material like that. Nowadays, there's Abraham, who is channeled. Also, there's some other people that channel different materials. Abraham is channeled by Esther Hicks and her husband, and her tour around and talk to people and answer questions as Abraham. Regardless of whether you believe this came out of me somehow. I didn't feel like I was writing it. I felt like I was hearing it or like translating it. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
It's a little new agey. I'll give it that. Okay. I mean, it is, it's a little weird, but it really felt like the ideas came into my head and then I got to pick the words. And if, my first reviewer was Kim actually, and she said, Kimmy the Psycho. And at the time, oh my God, she had nothing but great praise to say. She could hook me up with publishers and all this stuff. And I don't think this is just one book. This is like 5 books and blah, 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 blah. And then as soon as the proverbial fit hit the shan, she told me in text and whatever that it was just wordy and that I must have used a thesaurus because nobody knows all those words and nobody's going to understand it because the words are ridiculous and whatever. I can take criticism. I don't really care. It was just funny how it switched. It just went from on to off like that. Right. A lot of things went like that in that situation. But anyway, I kind of wanted to talk about some of those ideas, just kind of float them out there and see where we get just talking about them. The manuscript that I wrote, I started out calling it Your Dreaming. And the idea was this metaphor, or maybe it's not a metaphor, that this whole life is very much like a dream. I mean, have you ever had a really long or complicated dream where it felt like you were like lived a whole life or like days of a life, and then you wake up and you're almost like surprised?
Right. Yeah.
Imagine that our whole life is that. Imagine that this whole physical existence here is a dream that we've created in maybe a non-physical entity's mind, imagining this world here on Earth, right?
Right.
That's kind of the idea. I believe that we are eternal, live forever, non-physical entities, and that we temporarily inhabit bodies here for a while. What we see as a while, but time and space are not really real. They're illusions. So it's that, and that's hard to understand and to process. But, so I actually this is hilarious. I wrote the manuscript. I had ChatGPT write me a series of notes and summarize that. So we're going to see how that works out. I mean, I could have done this. I just didn't. We were kind of on the gun to try to get this done. So I'm like, hey, let's see if I can just real quick whip up some points to talk about. So I'm going to be completely honest. These notes, they're based on what I wrote. And but it was summarized by ChatGPT, which I find interesting.
How did you do that, by the way? How did you get it to spit out?
I just literally logged into ChatGPT, whatever the website is, openai.com, I think. And I said, hey, ChatGPT, I probably didn't say that. Can you summarize a manuscript for me for a presentation? And he said, yeah, sure. You can either copy and paste the text here, or you can upload a file. So I uploaded a file, a doc file. I'm a Mac guy, so it would have been a Pages file, but I didn't know if it would handle Mac files. So I made it into a doc. I saved it as a doc and uploaded it. And it said, sure. And it spit out 3 pages. So here are the key talking points. Let's just kind of get into it and talk about it, see what, comes up, because I feel like you're more traditional than I am. I feel like you're more of a, I don't know that you're religious, but you've certainly gone to church.
I am. I'm Christian. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. I assume, was it Greek Orthodox church? Okay.
Yeah. It's a form of
your
Protestant.
Family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Greek Orthodox Protestant. You have beliefs and things that you've been taught your whole life, and we don't really know. I don't think anybody really knows. I mean, we know what the church told us.
Right.
I'm not religious. I mean, my parents kind of, one set of parents that I lived with, they went to church twice a year and tithed extra money for the guilt for not going for the rest of the year. They went on the Easter and Christmas and just put a bunch of extra money in there because they felt guilty.
Well, I work on Sunday, so I can.
There you go. It's a good excuse. I like it. Yeah, but I mean, you know what? I am, and I don't criticize anybody's beliefs. Believe what you want. I mean, that's the whole idea. Believe whatever you want. And I think I kind of believe whatever you believe is true for you. Yeah. So these are some things that I thought that were interesting that I believe, and they're just ideas that I thought would be interesting to talk about and to kind of get out there and maybe start a conversation with some people online. Mm-hmm. If anybody wants to comment, I'd love to hear from you. So I did start out, though, with a quote from A Course in Miracles, which is a book that really, really long book It was channeled by, what is her name? Marianne something. I'll put it on the screen because I'm blanking right now, and it's not credited properly in my manuscript, oddly enough. But there's a quote that this book was also channeled. She believes it was channeled. She's channeling Jesus. And it's written in that kind of old way of talking, thy, thine, all that stuff. It's a kind of a difficult read. I would have recommended on audiobook. It's a little easier to swallow an audiobook.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like Shakespeare. It's easier when it's read out loud. It's easier to understand the meaning when it's read out loud. But this quote from the Course in Miracles is kind of long, but I'm going to read it real quick. The Garden of Eden, or the pre-separation condition, was a state of mind in which nothing was needed. When Adam listened to the lies of the serpent, all he heard was untruth. You do not have to continue to believe what is not true unless you choose to do so. And all that can literally disappear in the twinkling of an eye because it is merely a misperception. And here's the important part. What is seen in dreams seems to be very real. Yet the Bible says a deep sleep fell upon Adam, and nowhere is there reference to him waking up. So, could this be that we're Adam and that we're having a dream? The world has not yet experienced any comprehensive reawakening or rebirth. Such a rebirth is impossible as long as you continue to project or miscreate. It still remains within you, however, to extend as God extended to his spirit to you. In reality, this is your only choice because your free will was given you for your joy in creating the perfect. So just kind of I like the idea and the concept that there's a hint right there in the Bible, which, I'm not a big Bible expert or anything. Right. I'm not claiming that. I'm really not. I'm not a super religious dude. I've read the Bible. I'm not completely unfamiliar, but I'm no scholar, right? Okay, when it comes to the Bible. And I'm really a heathen when it comes to my life, let's face it. But I like the idea that the Bible right there says that this is all a dream, kind of.
Interesting.
So this started out as being called You're Dreaming, and I changed the title later because I found some other titles out there called You're Dreaming, and I just didn't want to muddy it up, right? It's called Lucid Living because the idea is do you know what lucid dreaming is?
Yeah.
So lucid dreaming, for anybody who doesn't know, is when you're aware that you're dreaming during a dream, right? So it's like you're having a dream and you're like, wait a minute, this seems weird. Why? Oh my gosh, I'm dreaming. And in a dream, if you can stay asleep and continue to dream while you're having that dream, you can do almost anything. You can fly, you can do all that stuff because the rules of physics don't exist. What you believe is what exists. So if you believe you're dreaming, or if you don't know that you're dreaming and you just believe it's real, then all of the laws of physics, it's kind of like Inception, where he spins the top, to see if he's awake or not, because the law of physics don't apply in a dream. They shouldn't. Why would they apply in a dream? It doesn't make any sense for them to apply in a dream, right? So time to get some of this white coffee, which sounds racist, but is not, by the way. Yeah, so physics don't apply.
Right.
I hope this isn't in the way for the shot, but I can't reach it over here with my arm. So here are the basic core ideas of my manuscript, which is not published. Maybe one of these days I'll edit it up and publish it. And I had an editor briefly, and it didn't end up working out. They decided they didn't want to edit. Yeah, it was weird. It was a weird thing. I went to hire. It was a hire work for hire thing. I actually went through Fiverr.
Like one of those Fiverr things. Yeah.
It was Fiverr, but it wasn't $5. It was, we made a deal. But before we even got into it, during the interim, they flaked and said, I'm sorry, but I've decided I'm moving and it's just too much to take on a project, which is fair. Whatever. Okay. At least they told me, they got back to me. It's not like I'm just ghosted, right?
Well, that's good.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. So the core concepts of this lucid living thing is that life is a dream. It's a projection of a consciousness. So like of a non-physical consciousness. If you are a non-physical entity that exists outside of time and space, then you're projecting your consciousness, or maybe just a portion of your consciousness, into this life and having a dream, which is this life. And that means, interestingly enough, that the rules of physics only apply as much as you think they do, which is kind of cool and interesting. So you're the dreamer, not just a character, but the one that is imagining all of this. So to me, you, Tom, and everybody else out there, you are parts of me. But if from your point of view, I am a reflection of you. Well, reflections, I think, is a better word. Reflections. You know, if you have a dream, if I dreamed about you tonight,
please don't.
Let's make this awkward.
Please don't.
Let's make this awkward, buddy. If I were to dream about you tonight, Tom, if I did, the you in my dream could be wearing fishnets and dancing the cha-cha because it's not really you. And those are
You're
things,
right.
Those are things
really
that you're unlikely to do. I'm not criticizing anybody who does those things. That's fair. But Tom's a pretty conservative, like not politically, but like socially conservative guy.
A square.
Yeah, he's square. He's a square. So, you know, he's not likely to do that. So in my dream, you can do whatever I want.
I can do whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would do your bidding.
You would do my bidding because you aren't, you know, you're part of me. You're part of my subconscious, right? The idea of awakening, which we talk about in the New Age world all the time, awakening, going through this awakening, is to me in this concept, whether this is a metaphor or literally true, the idea of awakening then is to awake within the dream, not to awaken from the dream. Because that'll happen eventually. When you die, you're going to go back to your non-physical existence 100%, right? You're not going to have this dream anymore. But while you're here, if you can awaken enough to start remembering your non-physical life and realize that this is a dream, then anything is possible. Literally anything is possible. And I can tell you that after I wrote this manuscript, I was in a dark, dark, dark place. Watch episode 1. I was in a dark, dark, dark place when this was being written. Okay, this came out of me and I just spewed it all. I mean, it's not a 300-page book. It's a shorter book, manuscript at this point. But I got completely lost. I had a squirrel moment. I had an ADHD moment there. That's terrible. Oh, my goodness. How am I going to lecture on this if I can't even keep my brain in one place? What was I saying? Do you know? Were you listening to me?
Yeah, you were talking about the awakening from you're returning to the what would you say, non-physical? Yeah.
Yeah, so if you
I don't know how to explain it.
If you can, whatever you believe is possible, I guess is the idea. Yeah. Anything is possible if you truly believe it, which is kind of a new age thing anyway. This is, I guess, another take on that or why or how that works, I guess. So, my belief, and this is in the book as well, the manuscript, is that I don't want to pretend like I have a book out there that's published. That's why I keep saying it that way. I think of it as a book because it's lengthy, but it's not published, and I don't know if I'm going to publish it or not. I guess it depends on whether people like the ideas.
The stuff that I read of yours, though, that was part of it. The earlier first 17 pages of it, it read really well.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm not just saying that because
I'm glad I asked you here to kiss my ass. Thank you very much.
I didn't even know that you wrote it at first.
Well, neither did Kim. Apparently, she thought I got it from Chat GPT or something. Although these 3 pages I did, let's be honest. My point of view and my thought is that we are, each of us, there is, my wife will disagree with me on this because she doesn't believe in the idea of a God.
Ooh.
I believe.
Sorry for the reaction.
Right.
I actually didn't
she
know.
really ought to, just in case. But what I believe is that God is not like some dude in the sky with a beard, right? God is source energy, love, God. I think source energy, love, and God all mean the same thing. And I think all of those things are the sum of everybody. So God is everything.
Right.
Like one big thing, and that each of us is a little teeny fragment of God. So we're not separate from God. We're just like God's fingertip or a cell in God's fingertip. Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah. a component.
That the separation that we appear to experience during this dream is just an illusion. That it's not real, in that we're going to wake up from it and we're going to be like, oh man, that was a wild ass trip, wasn't it? Can you imagine? Do you remember that doing that podcast with Tom? That was great. That was really weird. Where did I come up with that? You know, where did I come up with people being on two legs and like walking around like that? That's so weird. You know, I'm a non-physical entity. What's this? So, you know, everybody in this dream, from my point of view, is me, which means that you really should love everybody in this life, because why would you not love a part of yourself? Would you hate your hand or your foot because you tripped on something? I mean, it's kind of pointless, right? I mean, we make mistakes, we do things, but like the idea of really holding much of a grudge doesn't make any sense, at least not to me. Not that I'll clearly say I have some issues. I mean, episode 1, right?
The old episode 1.
The old trick. Episode 1 trick. And we're not talking about Star Wars, folks.
No.
Although this is a trilogy now, as of right now, this is a trilogy. What's weird about this thought process, when you start thinking about this, is that logic and science, which I love, I mean, I really believe in logic and I believe in science, but they're also part of the dream. So.
Interesting.
They're not tools that allow you to see beyond the dream. They only exist here in the dream.
That's if you know it's a dream in the first place, because not everybody. So how do you explain everybody else that doesn't know about this stuff? Like, why are they not aware of it, but other people are? That's a good question. You know what I mean?
I think we're all gradually waking up, or trying to. I think we're all trying to wake up. I think some of us are further along than others, and some are I don't mean some of us meaning that I'm further along than anybody else. Right. It's not a contest. That's not how it works. I just feel like some people get there first, and they can help the other people to kind of wake up.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
To wake up within the dream, to shake them and say, no, it's a dream. It's okay. Everything's all right. So you can't use logic and science to prove that this is true. And that's where the atheists, I love, there's some atheists that I love. I'm a huge fan of Darren Brown, the mentalist from Britain, big time, huge, outspoken atheist. Yep. Penn Jillette of Penn and Teller, very, very outspoken atheist, wrote a couple books about it. Really, really smart guy. Love Penn, love very Teller, smart, but Penn specifically is an atheist. But the thing is, you can't prove that that this isn't a dream from within the dream, right?
So then the people that don't know that this is a dream, they're not real anyway.
Right.
They're an image.
Right. And that's where it gets really weird and interesting, because I feel like while I'm having this dream, and while from my point of view, you're not real. You're the Tom of my dream. I feel like there is a Tom, and I feel like he's having his own dream, and I'm in it doing a podcast with him.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how do we know this is happening?
Well, we can't prove it. That's the thing. We cannot. I don't think I see any way to prove it. How could you prove that you were having a dream while you were still dreaming? You might know it. You might become aware of it. But how could you prove it to somebody else in your dream? I don't know how that would work. I'm open to ideas. I mean, that'd be a great ending for my manuscript if I could figure out a way to do that. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. This kind of came out of me, and I think it's true. I feel like it's true. I don't know how much of it's a metaphor and how much of it's literally true, but I know that it is a way to help people to wake up. The world, basically, your experience. So in Tom's dream, right?
Right.
The entire world around you, including me, including this studio that we're in, including everything around, is a reflection of your internal state. I don't know what that tells you, but that's the thing. If we can learn to look at that and look at it that way, it might change your perception of things. because even if you look at that psychologically, even if you completely forget about the whole cosmic universe stuff, right? And just look at it psychologically.
All right.
You can only perceive me through the filter of your own perspective. Right?
That is true, actually. I know what you're talking about there.
And because of that, you're going to perceive, if you're in a bad mood, you might perceive the things that I say differently than if you were in a good mood. If you're feeling some kind of way about me, you might, that might color the thing. Or if you're just having a weird day, it could change the way that you receive that information.
But yet you're exactly the same person.
Exactly, right.
That's sitting there right now.
So even if you look at it as a pure psychological thing and not even with like the whole cosmic stuff, even just psychologically, there is some truth to that, I feel like.
Yeah, that makes sense the way you describe it.
Yeah, and your beliefs are what shape your dream and what make the dream and what makes everything that happens to you, right? Not just the things that you do, but the things that happen to you. And that's the interesting part about it, because your beliefs are also, I think, on some level, creating the events that appear to happen to you. Now, I can tell you right now, and I think I got into this a little bit at the end of episode 1. Like 9 months ago, I wrote a journal entry about everything. I finally decided, you know what? Everybody's always talking about this manifestation crap. I'm going to write down, I need to decide what I want. Like, how am I going to get it if I don't know what I want? If I'm just being vague and saying I want a good life, how am I possibly going to get it? So I sat down and I wrote this journal entry, and I wrote about all the things I wanted 9 months ago, and today they're true.
That is true based on what you told me then.
Yeah.
And now?
Those things have happened. I mean, like, in my head, like the partner that I imagined that I would have in my imaginings was not, like, I couldn't have described the woman that I'm married to now as, but she is definitely my soulmate. She is definitely my partner forever. We've lived other lives together. I guarantee you. It's just a feeling. You just know. It's crazy. But, I mean, the car that I pictured and that I detailed out what it looked like is in the driveway. It's crazy. Like, that really happens. So I find that really, really interesting. And, when you start to have this life where you have like synchronicities, when you look at the clock all the time and it says 11:11, or 1:11 or 2:22, or, just any like the same numbers over and over again, or you start to have weird coincidences happen to you, that's usually a sign that you're on the right track. That happens for me all the time now, by the way. It really does, which is pretty cool. It's a really cool, because it feels like, okay, I'm doing so. This is going pretty well. I'm on the right track. I mean, I already feel like that because I'm happy. If you're happy, that's a good sign too, I think. We're not here to try to escape from the dream. We're not here to try to wake up, because, I mean, waking up is, what we do at the end of our life, right? We pass to another, whatever. We think of it, I think, in Christianity, they think of it as your soul leaves your body because, you are a body that has this soul. But I think of it the other way around. I am a soul that is inhabiting a body for a while.
Well, that's generally true, though.
Yeah. I mean, you can look at it either way, right?
Yeah.
But the soul is what goes on to heaven. And to me, heaven is just being reunited consciously with all that is. Going back to God, which is the whole of everything, and re-recognizing your connection with everything and everybody. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
So to me, lucid dreaming in this sense, in the sense of living in your real life and, in your real physical time-space life, is waking up and using your creative power, recognizing your power to create your life while you're still here. Does that make sense?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
That's another way to put that.
So creativity, when I say creative power, I mean like the power to make the things that happen to you different. I know. It's kind of out there. I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
It's out there. But
probably because I don't know how that works.
Well, I mean, I sat down 9 months ago and I wrote a story about what I wanted my life to be like, and now it's true. And I did aside from escaping from the hell that I was living, which is again, episode 1. But aside from that, I did not make conscious striving effort toward those specific goals. I just wrote them and forgot about them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And yet they happened. That to me is creativity. That is like the ultimate creativity, creating not just like art or something, which I love. I'm all about creating art. Or, even BSing on a podcast is creating, but creating a life, creating the things that seem to happen to you, which, again, it's not like I sat down and I figured out how to make it happen. I just decided that this is what I wanted, and then put that in the back of my mind and then didn't focus on it. In this case, at least, I don't know that that's how you always do it. That's just what's happened for me. So our purpose is to remember our divinity, to remember that we're a part of God, that we're a splinter of God, and that we have unlimited power. There's that quote, I think it might be Marianne Williamson as well. It's not, what we fear is not powerless. What we fear is that we are powerful beyond measure.
All right.
Imagine how having that, there's something that rings true to me in that statement, that there's a fear of my own power.
What do you mean, fear of your own power?
There's a fear that what if this is all something that I've created? Am I capable of keeping my focus on the things that I want? If the things that I focus on are what I draw into my life, am I capable of not watching the bad news on TV and not thinking about that and focusing on it? Because that's a certain amount of, you need to be able to just focus on the positive things that you want, or you're going to draw the wrong things into your life.
Well, if you're watching something, let's say you're watching the news on TV and it's something bad, which is bound to come up on the news in the first place.
Yep.
Are you saying that just because you're watching and want to know what's going on in the world, that could still be negative for you? Really?
I don't, like with me, I get drawn in. There are things that I cannot resist being drawn into. I am not a fan of the current administration, for example. We're not going to get into politics, but I'm not a fan of where things are going right now. Okay.
Right.
I'm very liberal. I'm very much a snowflake and very woke. Okay.
I guess that's a different topic than woke are, but anyway.
We don't have to talk about that.
Awake.
I'm just saying.
That's different than being awake, though,
I'll
right?
be damned. It is.
Okay.
I'll be damned if I can keep myself from watching like news scroll by on Facebook and going, that MFer, look what he did now. And that does not serve me. Focusing on that doesn't serve me. I mean, they're just getting upset about it, sitting at home and getting upset about it at the dining room table isn't doing anything. The only person that is affecting is me. It's making me miserable, so I shouldn't be doing it. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
It's just about putting your energy and your focus on the things. It's not like you're going to accidentally see a TV commercial and suddenly you're going to manifest the clapper, or whatever in your life. It's, it's focus.
Oh, I know that.
Do I have the self-control to keep my focus where I need to? And that's, I think, what I'm talking about when it comes to being afraid of your own power. Like if you create your life with what you think, are you capable of only thinking good thoughts? That's hard, right?
Don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard. I mean, I know if I was capable of it, I'd be doing it. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be I wouldn't be doom scrolling, and absolutely not. That makes no sense at all. So, Elon Musk will tell you that he went on record a long time ago and said that he is absolutely certain that this is a simulation, a computer simulation.
Did he say that? I didn't know that.
He did. His reasoning is very logical, but not very spiritual. His reasoning is that once we get to a certain point where AI and computers are capable of realistic simulations in any kind, whether it's going through a plug into your brain or whatever, when they get to that point, they're going to run 1 million of those, 1 billion different simulations, right? So the chances in his mind of this being the original iteration and not one of those are 1 in a billion. So therefore, he's going with a 9,999,000,000, you know, that bet, that would be his bet. But I don't think this is a computer simulation. I think it's a simulation, but I think it's a dream. By a bunch of overlapping dreams, I guess. It's kind of that part of it. It's hard to think.
Probably different segments.
It's hard to think in 5 and 6 dimensions when we're stuck here in 3. You know, I mean, it really is. So I don't get it completely. I just know it feels real. This is very immersive, and this is very much everything that we can think about, at least when we're awake. But it's not artificial, I don't think. I mean, it's artificial in that it maybe isn't our real existence. It's a mask that we're wearing for 100 years or 80 years.
Yeah,
that's what I think. But on a soul level, I think that you're dreaming a dream and I'm dreaming a dream, and we're in each other's dreams. But the dream, the version of me that you're interacting with, is separated enough from the real me by your perception that it's not really me. Yeah, I know. Well, it's like if I had a dream about you tonight, and again, I'm sorry to make you uncomfortable about that because I don't know what you'll be wearing, my friend. But say say I did have a dream about you tonight.
All right.
The person
I'll
in
play
my,
along.
Yeah.
Let's say you do.
All right. The person that I dream about will be based on my knowledge of you as a person. I mean, we've known each other for 35 or more years, right?
Like that, yeah.
So I have a pretty good concept of who you are and how you would behave. I could probably write a scene for a dream, subconsciously, of course, that would make sense and that would ring true as you. But it's not really you. Right. It's still not your choices. Those are not necessarily the choice. They might be the exact same choices you would make or not. It depends, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, it's just like making a clone, basically.
Yeah,
only
right.
You're doing it in dream form.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, are you going to be the same? You're going to be whatever I need you to be in that dream, you're going to be. Let's just hope it's not a sex dream.
Yeah, why do you have to say it like that?
I know. I'm sorry. I kind of enjoy making you uncomfortable, I think is what it comes down to. I just kind of enjoy.
I should be used to it by now.
You should be used to it, dude.
But we're in a different venue, and then we got cameras and stuff and all
true.
that.
Everybody's
I'm not
watching.
used to that. You know me.
The fact is, we don't know if anybody's going to watch this, man. So, I mean, it could just be two guys in a room with video cameras, which sounds way worse than it is.
I think there'll be at least 7 people. Mm-hmm. At least.
I'm hoping my wife will watch.
Yeah, she'll watch.
And maybe yours.
Yeah, how many non-unique viewers do you think we would have versus that's something we could talk about another time.
I don't know.
We'll find out.
I have no idea. I mean, we're just doing this to do it. So, we'll see what happens. I mean, that'd be great if it took off and we went somewhere, but I mean, we don't even know our format yet. I mean, we're just kind of figuring it out. Our first episode was completely negative. Yeah, that was weird.
The springboard episode.
Exactly. And that was just something I felt like I had to get out and puke out there. And it's dirty and dark and not very flattering about my life. But you know what? I'm not ashamed. It's my life. It's what I'm done being ashamed of things. And it was kind of like my coming out in a completely straight cis male kind of a way. It was my coming out of shame in general. Like shame, because I'd experienced a lot of shame in the last year, and I'd been in a lot of really dark places, and I felt like screw it, I'm going to warn people.
Yeah,
but well, let's move on from that. I don't like dwelling in that energy. So you're in my dream. You are a projection of my beliefs about you, which could be accurate.
No, I get what you're saying.
Right?
Yeah, the stuff that you would dream about would be something I probably would do in real life.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, the thing you got to remember is that when you hurt somebody in your dream, you're really hurting yourself. And when I say dream in this case, I'm talking about your waking life.
Okay.
When we lash out and when we hurt people, we're hurting ourselves. You're not doing anything constructive. Do you know what I mean?
It's not constructive.
They're not real. Yeah. So, maybe it's not that big of a deal. I don't know. because, we've all had dreams, I'm sure, where people have gotten hurt, and it's not like anybody has been hurt by that in our waking life. But what I like about this idea, though, is that it makes, ESP and the paranormal and all that stuff kind of makes sense because everything's connected. Everything is me. Like, you could read my mind right now because you're me.
Right.
You are my mind. From my point of view, you are a projection of my subconscious mind. So it makes sense that at sometimes you could know what I was thinking because I made you up. I wrote the script.
Right.
And I feel like when it comes to creativity, that is inspiration that's being channeled through us from our higher self, from the part of us that's dreaming, the part of us that we don't remember because we're not that lucid. Like the first lucid dreams that I had, I'm talking about actual dreams in this physical life. I was aware that I was dreaming, but I did not remember my waking life. I was just aware, oh crap, I'm dreaming. What am I supposed to do? I can't remember what I'm supposed to do. I just remember that it's a dream. I don't remember where I'm sleeping or what my life is like on the outside of the dream because somehow that is like kind of blocked off. You know what I mean? Have you ever had a lucid dream at all? Any kind of where you just know you're dreaming?
More so when I was a kid.
Okay.
Than lately. I mean, I kind of know sort of, and I don't sleep that well at night anyway, but that's a different story.
Right.
But I do remember as a kid, if I didn't like a dream,
yep,
I would say, the heck with this. I'm out of here.
Yeah. I remember having a dream as a kid where I was walking around with somebody trying to get somebody to wake me up.
Yeah. Really?
From inside the dream, which doesn't work, by the way. It didn't work in the dream anyway.
No, I would count down and say, I'm out of here in 5, 4, 3, 2, boom.
But it's not like I remembered my waking life. It's not like I knew what it was like from that point of view. I couldn't remember, and I'm getting to the point now where I can sometimes in a lucid dream, I can remember the things that I wanted to do, but I still don't really bring the whole of my memory into the dream. There's some kind of veil there. There's something that blocks it. And that's how I think this works here, that we're not remembering the totality of our real existence while we're here for whatever reason. I don't understand the reason. I don't know the reason, but I believe that I am both the creator and the receiver of my ideas, so I have these wild ideas, good or bad or indifferent, and there's a part of me that created that idea, but then also there's a part of me here in this waking dream that feels like I'm receiving that, like that manuscript. It felt like it was given to me by somebody else, or the ideas were put in my head. That's from another part of me.
That's what you meant by channeling.
Yes.
It just kind of funneled through.
Exactly.
You, that's probably the best way.
A lot of the channels that are out there, they talk about, they're like collective entities. So the way that I kind of imagine it is that, say there's a group of people. Okay. Like imagine that my hand is this is me and this is you and this is our wives and this is somebody else, Steve, our friend Steve, right? Whatever. Yeah. But like all of this whole thing is God. This whole body is God. But like if you were to talk to this part right here, it would be a collective. You know what I mean? At some point they join.
Like a hub. Yeah.
At some point they join and it would not just be a hand. It would probably be like a koosh ball of, whatever. I don't know where all the things kind of come together, but I feel like there are points at which groups of us join and then there are points at which we're all joined. Kind of.
Yeah. I know that part.
There are people where you feel like you have just this connection to.
Oh yeah, that is definitely
and you
true.
just feel it from the moment you met, or from some point. At some point, you make this amazing connection, and it feels like that's like almost extends beyond this lifetime. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, time and space are an illusion. We talked about that a little bit, but this is common in New Age kind of stuff. The only thing that really exists is the now, this moment right here. This moment is the only time when you have the power to do anything. You can sit here and listen to me chatter. You can get up and take a dump. You can do whatever, but this is the only time right now that you get to make that choice. Right? That moment keeps moving, but that's the only thing you can change. You can't change the past. It's already happened. all you have of that is memories, and they're probably not completely accurate.
Definitely not.
I mean,
Definitely not.
We both know, we both had experience with not remembering things as well, especially in police situations and stuff, witnesses.
Exactly.
Nobody ever remembers anything as clearly as it happened. But the past is just memories. The future are just projections of what might be, because we don't know yet.
A perfect example. How many times have we gone back and looked at some footage that we shot, like, let's say, months earlier?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I don't remember that being like that.
Yeah. So the idea...
I mean, we've talked about that.
Yeah. And there's all these examples now of the... what do they call that effect? Oh, the... oh, my God. I'm blanking on the name.
What's it involve?
The where you misremembered facts from the past, where they're like misremembered by huge groups of people. It almost implies that time space has been altered in a way because things are so different. Anyway.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
now it's gonna bug me. I know what you're talking about.
I'll put it on the screen.
It's some type of.
I'll put it on the screen so that it's
okay.
the something effect. But it's. The way that I try, and I don't understand it because I'm here stuck in these 3 dimensions with time, right? Is that the time is a point of view, okay? Like a frame in a movie.
Is it the Mandela effect?
Yes, the Mandela effect. Right. Okay, yeah, because
a
lot of people,
I thought it was.
A lot of people misremember Nelson Mandela dying in prison, which he did not.
Right.
That's where the name comes from. But these are things that are, Bernstein Bears or the Bernstein Bears or, all these things that are supposedly changed from the way people remember them. And there are huge groups of people that remember things differently than they supposedly are now. I don't know where I'm at on all that. But, if we think about time as a point of view, everything's a point of view, really.
Yeah.
But if you think about time as a point of view, from a cosmic point of view, it all exists at once. Our past, our present, our future, it all exists. But we are moving through it like a film.
Exactly. I was going to bring that up. Go ahead.
Yeah, of course. You look at it's like a frame in a movie, right? Yeah. If you have a can of film, a canister with a whole 2-hour film on it, the whole thing exists.
At the same time.
Right here in this can, all of the little pictures, 35 millimeter, 72 millimeter pictures, they all exist on that film. This is kind of old technology for those of you that are all digital, but they all exist at once.
Right.
However, when you put it into a projector and you project it, you see one at a time, 24 frames a second, gives you the illusion of movement, which is neither here nor there. It's just a little thing.
It's a filmmaking thing.
Yeah, filmmaking thing. But the time is the point of view. The time is the frame you're looking at right now. They all exist. And from that, and in that way, when we think about, like, people talk about having past lives and everything,
right?
I believe that they're not in the past. I believe they're all happening at the same time. They're all happening in the moment, which is weird and hard to comprehend, and I can't explain it. But that's just an interesting idea, I was trying to understand this idea, and it might have been Seth. I'm not sure. Somebody, Jane Roberts, who channeled Seth, had described it like a library, right? You're going into this library. It's a huge, like the Library of Congress library, huge, just like whatever. Yeah. Imagine the largest library you can imagine, right? And imagine that each moment is a page in one of those books. How many can you look at once? They're all there. Every single one of them is there.
They're all there at the same time.
But, you have to travel through there in a sequence from our point of view in order to get to one of those books, and then in order to decide what order you want to go through what pages in what book. So they all exist. And I don't know, what that means. I don't believe that everything's predestined or anything like that. I'm not saying they all exist like we don't have any say. I don't know. It feels like we have a say, right? It feels like
I think we do.
Yeah. But it's an illusion is the core idea. The time and space are an illusion. I mean, it's pretty clear from science that this hand, even though it hits this table, it could pass through this table if they weren't vibrating at exactly the same speed, right? There's more space here than there is physical stuff. When you talk about the atoms and the electrons and the neutrons and positrons and all that moving around, There's more space here than there is stuff. It happens that all these physical things are vibrating close enough to the same that when they run into each other, it stops them. But that is not the only way that it could be. Does that make sense?
Right.
We're not as physical as we think we are. It's an illusion, kind of. So the idea is become lucid, become aware in the dream as it's happening that this is a dream and that you can create it and that you can change things. Realize that everybody that you're around and that you're talking to and that you're interacting with is you, and treat them as such, because why wouldn't you? Right? It's a practice. It's something that you're going to fail at all the time, but you can always come back to it, right? You're going to screw up and you're going to forget, because we've lived, the two of us have lived 50 some years each on this planet, and we've been screwing it up pretty good so far, but we've learned a lot from our mistakes, hopefully. It is what it is, right? But everything is within us. Everything is within us. I feel like inside of an atom is the entire universe somehow. Programmed into our DNA as everybody's DNA. I don't know. It doesn't make logical, scientific sense. But I believe that when you change your beliefs, you can change the world around you. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's optimistic if nothing else, right?
Very optimistic.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really cool thing. You are source energy having a dream about a physical life. You are a fragment of God having an experience like role-playing as a person, which is kind of a cool idea, right? Like you have unimaginable powers inside of this dream because it's a dream. You can change anything you want. You're a creator. You're part of God, right? Heaven and hell, I believe, are not physical places. Heaven and hell are states of mind. If you're going to be in hell, it's probably going to be during your physical lifetime, because we're so cut off from the whole right now. That veil that keeps us from remembering the life beyond our life here, beyond this dream is created there. It's like an amnesia kind of a thing for everything else. But I feel like, this manuscript that I wrote and this podcast, if you're watching it, are part of your awakening. They're part of that. You've drawn this into your life. You, Tom, and you, the people that are watching, you've drawn this discussion into your life. Maybe it's going to raise an issue. Maybe it's got a thought in your mind and something, maybe some small part of it. And it doesn't have to be all of it. I could be wrong on all of this, right? I mean, I'm just throwing some ideas out there, but I feel like you take what works for you and you throw out the rest. They're just ideas, they're thoughts, they're ways of looking at the world. And I think it's kind of cool to share them and to talk about them. How are we doing on time?
Actually, I can tell you in a second here. Oh, 54, roughly about 54 minutes.
Cool.
Yeah. I lost that screen when I tried to find out about verify the Mandela effect.
The Mandela effect.
Yeah,
that is such an interesting.
Screen, yeah.
You should, if you're watching and you don't know anything about it, you should Google or go on YouTube or whatever. And
I knew what it was, but I forgot the name.
When you're done with this video, don't stop this video now. Come back. Yeah.
Unless they pause it, then they do.
Yeah, you can pause it and then come back.
But
you really like it.
We would never know anyway.
We're never gonna know. It's your dream. You do
it's your dream.
You do you, boo. It's your dream.
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
And that's the thing is if you can look at it from that point of view, even if it's just a psychological experiment, why do I care about what you do with your life? It's yours. When you're not around me, what could I care? What possible difference could it make? Who you're sleeping with, what your lifestyle is, what difference could any of that possible? How could that be a threat to me? It's not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's you. It's your deal. I don't care.
So you don't care what happens to me?
Oh my God, here we go. I feel like I'm married to this guy. 35 years together. We probably should just make it official. My wife's cat has been an ordained minister now.
Is that right?
Yeah, she got this cat ordained online to perform weddings.
Is that just so you could see if you can get the certification or whatever? Just
I
like
guess.
these so-called service animals.
Right.
You know what
yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
Come on.
Right. We'll get her a vest too.
That's a different
I was gonna
topic.
we were gonna make a Pope hat for her and take her around in the stroller. It's an old West End thing. You
What
push
is?
taking the cat for a walk in the stroller.
Why? Why would anybody
I blame
do that?
Troy. You know who you are. Because he's the guy in the neighborhood that I first heard about doing that. But now we've got a purple stroller and the cat goes around. But I saw a picture online of somebody with a cat wearing a Pope hat inside of like a clear thing. And it looked like the Pope Mobile, like a little version of the Pope Mobile. And now we might have to do that.
Can you bring that cat in?
Maybe.
Or at least a picture?
I will find the picture and I'll try to find the picture and I'll put it up during this discussion. And then, you'll never see it unless you watch the podcast. So you're going to have to watch this conversation again. I'm sorry.
Right.
Anybody else who wants to watch it again, we'll take the views, try to do it from another IP address so that we get more credit for the views. I don't know if you can watch it more than once and it counts, because otherwise I could just watch this 800 times at home and say, look at me with my diamond YouTube button, and we don't care about that. I mean, it's cool that people are reacting, and I want to hear what people think, and I want to kind of start discussions about this stuff. But I'm not. I do check a lot to see how many views we got, but I don't know. And that probably is vanity.
Something?
It's probably vanity, but I don't.
What does that say about me?
I don't know. You're busy, I think is what it probably says.
Yeah.
but I'm glad you could take the time to have this conversation with me. Right. I mean, it was kind of an interesting.
I'm always willing to learn.
Yeah, and I don't.
Willing to learn.
Again, I could be totally wrong about this. It's just an idea. It's some ideas that came to me, and I wrote them down. And it's kind of cool to talk about them with other people. And I think it might be fun to start, like in the comments, start some conversation.
Well, somebody might have an actual experience of their own that's kind of along those lines.
Exactly. And I'd love to hear about it, seriously.
That would be very interesting
comment, email, whatever you can. I don't know what's out there, but we'll make sure that, the information is available in the description of this video so you can reach out to us, because I'd love to hear. I like talking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in New Age, and that's kind of what got me into the episode 1 situation. Here I was living with a psychic thinking, okay, I got the hookup, man. She's gonna help me to get in touch with my spirit guides and I'm going to be all good to go. And guess what? Knocked herself right off the pedestal. And now, but you know what the thing is? That's the right answer though. I need to get those answers from myself and not from somebody else. I mean, you can be inspired by other people. I hope somebody's inspired by the words in this podcast, but, maybe not. But I mean, I read a lot of books and I get a lot of ideas and I'm inspired by those, but they're not like, I don't worship the book. The book is just a pointer to, a bigger reality, I think. And there's no point in putting somebody or something on a pedestal, because there's nothing special about me. I'm just a guy who has some ideas about how life is. I've been at it for a little while. So, of course I've got some ideas. They're probably wrong, but I've got them.
If I'm not mistaken, the things that happened to you basically cause you to maybe think about this stuff more or to look into it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it was part of, I've been on this path for at least 25 years, 20 years. We'll say 20 years on this path. I mean, when I was a kid, I was at the library checking out books. I know I started reading the Seth material by Jane Roberts when I was young. Wow. I found the book on it. I mean, it was a random find. And she was channeling Seth when I was born. I mean, I remember reading, because they put the dates on every session. I remember reading the session like that was the day I was born and thinking, wow,
no kidding.
This is interesting. But I mean, it still feels true. It's not dated. Is it
like a section or something in that, the journal or whatever?
Yeah, so basically the Seth material, there's a bunch of books. Jane Roberts is the author, credited author, but she claims that it's Seth who's writing these books. Right. But I think the first one was called The Seth Material. And then there's a bunch of other Seth and this, Seth. But the main idea, or the main, her husband writes by hand. Well, they're both passed, but they writes by hand wrote by hand all of her, wrote down everything she said. So this entity, Seth, said, I'd like to write a book. So he started writing everything that this entity said, and would put the dates before each session as they did it, because they do like an hour or two at a time, and and then his hand would be hurting, and she would be psychically exhausted or whatever. I don't understand the process. Kim did some channeling when I was, I have video actually of Kim channeling when I was staying there with her. And I mean, it was a little whack, dude. It was a little strange. I believe in that kind of stuff. I really do. But she tried to tell me, her guides tried to tell me that I was Prometheus, who isn't even a real person. I mean, it's a freaking Greek, god.
Something in mythology, right?
Yeah, Prometheus gave fire. He was like Zeus. He stole fire from the gods.
Wow.
And gave it to the humans. And then he got chained to the mountain and had his liver or something, or some part of him eaten out every day by an eagle for the rest of eternity. And Hercules eventually saved him. But, he was a god or a demigod who was, I'm not a person who needs to, like, there are 8 million women whose past life was Cleopatra, right? I mean, I don't need that. I don't need to be, to me, that's masturbation. I don't know. I mean, for lack of a better word, to say, oh, look at what I was. I was this cool thing in another life because I suck in this life, whatever. I mean,
right.
I don't need that. I don't want that kind of weird false reassurance. That doesn't do anything for me. So I don't think that was Prometheus and stealing.
She's saying that you were.
Yeah.
Why you? And only you?
I don't know.
Or a bunch of, how does that work?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that one. But
of all the people in the world,
that's
it
what
happened to be.
That's what I'm saying, right? It doesn't. I mean, there are thousands of women who have gone to these past life regression sessions and been told that they were Cleopatra in another life, and
of course.
Because who doesn't want to be Cleopatra? I mean, what
Me.
woman? Yeah, well, you, of course, not you, but that's your homophobia, Tom. That's
No.
not you not wanting to be a. Now what is it? It's your. Yeah, I don't know. It's your, it's just you. Yeah. Right. No, I don't. It's silly. To me, it's silly. I don't mean to make fun of anybody or anybody's beliefs, but I don't need that. I don't need that reassurance. I don't need you to tell me that I was somebody special in a past life, and whatever. I just am what I am, I mean, and maybe I've had other lives, but they don't need to be special. I mean, they don't need to be like I was some special imaginary thing. This is a demigod from Greek mythology. This isn't like a real person.
Well, would she have told anybody if they were just, let's say, a farmer from the 1800s?
That's the question, right? I mean, people do have that experience. They're told. Some people are told that.
Where are they?
But not by telephone psychics. Typically, the telephone psychic only makes money if you're happy and come back. So, on that note, let's wrap this up. It was really cool talking to you, man. You got anything else to say on the subject?
No, but I'm sure a bunch of questions will come up at,
yeah,
when
of course.
It's too late after.
Well, you
this,
can always
sure.
comment them too. You're allowed to comment.
Well,
just
true.
because, you're not in the podcast doesn't mean you can't come out and show your face in the comments. It'd be cool.
That's true too.
So you guys,
There's no two.
Huh?
There's no two shot.
Oh, there's no two shot. No. Okay. Well, thanks for watching. That's cool.
Okay.
That's okay.
All right.
We'll just get it out of the way this time. Say goodbye. Go to your camera and say goodbye.
Where am I? Over here. Goodbye.
All right. And you guys have a good one. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.